Okay, I've been to book group and I've come back. I'm going to start cooking now because I've got a Zoom meeting at 6 and Bob's going out at 8, so we've got to eat beforehand. Ridiculously early because I'm still full of tea and cake, but hey ho. So the first thing, I've got 3 cameras, so you'll have to bear with, caller. It'll all get a bit chaotic, I'm sure. I'm going to make the sauce first, and I'm going to show you that on that camera. So let me just move over to that camera, if I can find it, which is that camera, I think. That camera, there you go. So this is my saucepan, yes. And into this saucepan, I'm going to put all the ingredients for the satay sauce. I'm going to make the amount it says for 4 people, because I like satay sauce. And you can always keep it and use it for something else. But I like satay sauce. I like lots of it. And in fact, when we had friends and I did this for 4 of us, I made double the quantity for 4 that they said we ought to do. And it was lovely. So you want 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. 1. And that's the end of that bottle. Oh, I've got 2 bottles on the go, but I hope you can hear me because the camera's over there and I'm over here on the other side of the kitchen. So I'll talk loudly so that you can hear me. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And then you want 3 tablespoons of peanut butter. Now, I said to the teacher, this, by the way, is the Introduction to Oriental Cookery course that Julie Williams and I did together. And it was a bit hilarious because the lady was she was more all over the place than I am, and that's saying something, isn't it? She did do some random things and we weren't entirely happy with what she did. But this particular recipe, it's the only one I'll make again, and I've already made it several times. So I thought I'd show you because it's quite good and it does use up that coconut milk. So you want 3 tablespoons of peanut butter. Now I have got this peanut butter, which is crunchy peanut butter, and I have this peanut butter, which is smooth peanut butter. When I got the recipe, the ingredients through, I rang her and said, you haven't said whether it's smooth or crunchy peanut butter. What do I need? And she said, oh no, smooth. So I went out. I already had crunchy peanut butter. I went out and bought smooth peanut butter, which I'm not as keen on. And when it came to doing the cooking in the evening, she said, oh, no, I always use crunchy peanut butter, in which case steam started coming out of my ears. So what I'm doing is I'm using some of each. I quite like the crunchy because I quite like the nuts in it. But I'm using 2 spoonfuls of smooth and 1 of crunchy. So there's 1 smooth and here's the other smooth. Right. So that's 3 tablespoons of peanut butter. And then you want the dear old red Thai curry paste. And you want a tablespoon of that. And as you know, my tablespoon won't fit in there. So I'm going to use 3 teaspoons for 1. I've got to get a new jar. I have to go and borrow from Julie because I didn't have any more. So Julie has lent herself to this. So 3 teaspoons full of that. 1, 2, 3. Just in case. 3 of that. And then 4 tablespoons of your coconut milk. See, I said you'd use it up, aren't I? Good. 4 tablespoons of coconut milk. I've got all these dirty spoons now. And here's my coconut milk that I had this morning. The rest of that tin, which I put in here. And any I don't use will just go in the freezer. Yeah, a lot that's in there. But it will get used. So 4 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. 4 tablespoons of coconut milk. Now, it says a tablespoon of cider vinegar, which I didn't have. But I do have rice vinegar, which we had to get for one of her other recipes. And I will clearly never use again unless I make this. So I'm using the rice vinegar. And for me, that was ideal because it used it up. But you can use cider vinegar. And I'm guessing you could use white wine vinegar. You just want something with a bit of a flavour that isn't just vinegar. You know, don't want you using your sarsens in here. That's not really the whole point. Rice vinegar has a sweetness to it, as does cider vinegar. I think white wine vinegar will be fine as well. Okay. And then you want a tablespoon of sugar and half a teaspoon of salt. I'm running out of tablespoons that are clean, so I'm going to have to use one of those tablespoons. And my sugar is there. Oops. And a teaspoonful of salt, which is here. So, a tablespoon of sugar. There. And a teaspoonful of salt. And I've used my teaspoon, as we know. So I will use cutting myself on the cheese knife, which is looking like I'm going to use 2 half spoons because that's all that's clean. So 2 half spoons of salt. 2. Now that lot you stir and you cook it until it thickens. Okay, so that's going to go over onto the stove, and I'm going to change cameras. You'll see the stove. There's the stove. I have on the front of the stove a frying pan, which I'm going to put the chicken in, and on the back of the stove, I'm going to put the sauce. Okay, so that's going to go on very low heat. And please suppress your giggles. I'm putting a wooden spoon in it. Any nonsense from any of you about wooden spoons. So that's going to be cooking away at the back there, while I start on the other 2 things that I have cooking at the moment. So in this frying pan, I'm going to put some sesame oil because I like the flavour that gives to Oriental cookery. This is the sesame oil that I managed not to put the top on properly, and the entire bottle, which was a brand new bottle, emptied into my cupboard, dripped out of my cupboard, or just, I can't tell you, all over my chopping boards, all over my kitchen generally. If you've ever tried to mop up an entire bottle of oil, and a very strong smelling oil, that sesame oil, it's not good. It's really not good. Right, so this is my oil, which I'm going to heat there. It's there. And on the other side, which you can't see, I have a wok into which I'm going to put the rice. But to start with, I'm going to do the chicken here so you can see it, and then I'm going to swap everything around so you can see everything, which is going to be terribly clever of me. Don't hold your breath. Right, so the chicken's in the fridge where it's been marinating. As has yours, I'm sure. I'm going to get the chicken out. When that's hot, I'm going to put the chicken in there. Now, if it was on skewers, you'd lay the skewers in, but as I say, I'm not really sure because you'd just take it off the skewers, wouldn't you, when you came to eat it? So I think this is just as quick, and well, I think it's quicker. It's much easier to handle than faffing about the skewers. Sorry, technical term, faffing about. So there's the chicken cooking there. The sauce is cooking away there, trying to thicken, and the bowl is going over there. Now your rice, you have obviously cooked like good children, and you've cooled it. I have done the same. I've done a packet of dear old Uncle Ben's long grain rice. We're going to start off though by cooking the egg. So let's get this going because the rice doesn't really take very long. So I'll get this all going. And I'll do the rice in a moment. What I have got, my rice is there, and I've got my box here with all my vegetables in that we prepared this morning, or whenever you prepared it, but here's one I made earlier. So they're my blue Peter veg. And I've got my chicken and the rice and the veg are all going to go in my wok in a moment. I'm going to keep that cooking. Oh, can you see that? Cooking away there. You see that? Oh, my tiles look grey. They're actually beige. That's quite weird. Anyway. Oh. Sorry, I cut myself. Don't know what's on. I've cut myself and put chilli into it, which is why my tummy's getting quite sour. Obviously, you want this to cook through. If it was on skewers, you'd be fiddling, turning skewers. As it is, I'm just turning bits of chicken. I do think it's easier. Skewers are fine out on a barbecue, but they're not as easy in here because you need something long enough to get a skewer in there, don't you? My frying pans aren't big enough. I'm going to turn that down so it's not cooking quite so quickly, because you want to cook that to cook right through, although it's been marinating, so it will be more able to cook through than if it hadn't been marinating in something delicious. Oh. Yeah. Now, if you look at my sauce now, it's bubbling. See, it's bubbling, and it's considerably thicker than it was. You don't want it really solidly thick, so I think that will be, count that as done. Take a little, oh, lovely. I'm going to put it over there because I think that's enough. I'm going to turn that off for a moment. I can reheat it in a moment, but if you cook and cook it, it will cook down to really, really thick and it won't be very nice. So before I put them on. So that's still cooking. So I'm going to swap. That is if by magic. I'm going to swap. I'm going to put my chicken over the back there to keep cooking. And over here, I'm going to have my rice. So again, I've got some sesame oil, but you know, vegetable oil, olive oil, whatever you fancy, I just like that. So that's me. And in there, I'm going to put an egg. I'm going to get that warm, and then I'm going to crack an egg, and you cook the egg first. This is egg fried rice. If you don't like egg or you don't want egg fried rice, just leave the egg out. It's not difficult. But I'm going to put the egg in. I'm going to cook it. That's what I'm going to do. I think I've heat it up. Heat it in that pot. Now, if you're a deeply Oriental efficient cook, you would be doing this with chopsticks, but I'm not. Mainly because I don't have any. I don't know why I don't, but I don't have any chopsticks. I used to, but they've gone the way of all flesh, and I don't have any anymore. So that's just getting nice and hot. So I'm going to put the egg in there, and you're going to cook that as if you were cooking an omelette. You're going to stir it around, just like you would if you were cooking an omelette. Sound dead simple. And into that, you're going to tip your rice. Do this in any sort of a frying pan. I'm just using a wok because it's kind of Chinesey. And my wok. Break up your rice if it's in clumps like mine is. And then you can add your vegetables and stir them through. And to that, you can add soy sauce to taste, possibly salt and pepper if you like it. until everything's hot. And another reason for using my wok is that it has a lid, so I can put a lid on it to either help it cook or keep it warm. That is my fried rice. Now, you can have as much or as little veg, etc. in it. You can have prawns in this, as I said. You could have some chicken in there and just have fried rice as a dish, if that's what you want. If I'm doing just, I'm doing this as a side dish, but you can see why I don't think you need vast amounts of chicken. I'll show you my chicken now, which, can you see, is starting to brown and looks delicious. I'm going to turn that right down to nothing and start my sauce reheating over here. Now, luckily, very soon, not firing up. Very soon I'm going to have a 5-ring hob, which is what I'm desperate for at the moment, because I haven't got room for all of these things on here, particularly when one, oh no, it's got it now. One of my things do want to come on. So I'm going, that's obviously quite dry, as you can see, completely dry. I'm going to add soy sauce to it, which will add some flavour, some salt. Soy sauce has a lot of salt in it, so I think if you're using soy sauce, you probably don't need an awful lot of salt in anything. You might want some pepper, but I'm not a great pepper person. I'm going to put soy sauce in there. And you can add anything to taste. It's what our teacher was spent ages telling us. You know, she didn't ever show us a recipe. She just kept telling us all the extra things we could do. And in fact, she did extra things to hers, having told us what ingredients to buy. She then used loads of ingredients that we hadn't been told to buy, and we got quite stressed about it, because she would say, oh, I'm going to put peppers and green beans in mine. And we said, oh, you didn't tell us to buy peppers and green beans, and we hadn't, so we were quite peeved in the end. But as you can see, it's quite an attractive dish because it's got lots of different colours in it, lots of flavours in it, lots of crunch, because your vegetables have only been blanched and now they've been stir-fried. So to be a nice crunchy veg, the peppers and the beans will still be crunchy. I'm going to serve it in bowls. If you were a swish sort of a person, which I'm clearly not, you would have proper Chinese bowls. I don't have proper Chinese bowls. Our teacher did. And that would be lovely. So proper Chinese bowls would be great, and chopsticks and all of that. But I've got 2 pasta bowls, which is the nearest I get to this sort of thing. I'm going to put pasta bowls in the microwave to heat up. There. Meanwhile, my sauce, I really think my sauce, my rice is just done. So I'm going to put the lid on that to make sure it stays warm. So lid on the wok for that, and that's my dinner done. Now it took possibly 10 minutes to cook. I mean, the preparation is a few minutes, but it's actually a very quick meal. It's very delicious. It looks quite exotic and exciting. As I said, we've given it to visitors and they were suitably impressed. Do you like to suitably impress people? So you can either pour the chicken into the satay sauce if you wish, or you can put the chicken on top of the rice and put the satay sauce over, or you can have the satay sauce in a separate dish and serve it separately. What you can also do is just make the satay sauce and use it as a dipping sauce. So you can dip anything you like into it, really. So you could dip crudités into it, because it really is a nice sauce. So you've got actually 3 different recipes here, which can be used together or independently. The fried rice is a nice way to put some cold meat. A fried rice dish just perks it up when you're, what can I do to use up the meat? You can use some fried rice with it. The chicken on its own is lovely. As I say, you can do it on skewers, and you could serve it on skewers, or you could serve it with, if you cut it small, you could serve it as toothpicks, with toothpicks as nibbles at a jolly cocktail party. You had jolly cocktail parties? but there would be nice nibbles, wouldn't they? And you've got the satay dip. So I think you've got 3 good things there. And when my dishes are warm, I'm going to serve it up and show you what it looks like. So hang on there a moment. Camera 1 has the bowls under it. Look at this. Don't know ourselves. Now, what we have done at Bob's request is we have got, can you move the thing? We have got the chicken in the sauce stirred up together. You'll see in a moment. So we've got rice going in the bowls. And all over the worktop, as you can see. That's just one sachet of Uncle Ben's long grain rice, but with all the veg. Really looks quite a lot, doesn't it? So that's your rice, and then on top of that, I'm going to put this absolutely lovely. This is the chicken folded into lots on the under things. Oh, that's better. I'm going to put the chicken which I've folded into the satay sauce. So you've got quite a lot of sauce on there as well, which makes the rice even less dry. Can you make something even less dry? But less dry. And that is our Oriental dinner. Chicken, red Thai chicken satay. Delicious. I hope you enjoy it as much as we are just about to. Bye-bye.